Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to mix candies for Hydrographics. We've had a lot of customers requesting this, and so we thought we'd shoot a quick little video. So of course, with something like this right here, we've already got it all dipped. We've already got it prepped out. Everything's ready to go. We've got our silver base coat, which is what we need for the candy to really show through. And so now that we've got something like this, we're going to need to know how do we mix our candies so then we can apply something over this part right here. So let's set this out of the way and let's take a look at what we got. So candies are going to comprise of three different components. You're going to have your inner coat clear, you're going to have your reducer, and then you're also going to have a candy concentrate, in this case right here. Now, this candy concentrate is the heavenly blue that we have. Now, they have tons of different other colors from red, blue, green, yellow, all different kinds of shades. And so, of course, you're going to pick the shade that you want it to go. So we can make that part go into a black and yellow, black and red, black and blue, anything like that. So you can really make it look really unique just by adding that candy. So getting back to the candies on the mixing wise, whenever we're trying to mix a candy, we want to have these three components if we're going to mix it ourselves. And so we have our inner coat clear, which is pretty much just a clear base paint. This is what the paints start out as whenever they come from the factory. They start out as a clear, and then you add pigments or toners or anything like that to them to give them their color. And then so whenever we have our inner coat clear, some people also refer to this as a binder, then we also have the reducer that goes with that. And so usually with something like this right here, we're going to mix this, in this case, about 1:1. And so we're going to have 1 part of the binder or inner coat clear to 1 part of the actual reducer. And so then once we have these right here mixed together, then we're going to add these components right here at a ratio of ballpark about 10:1. And so what that's going to give us is a ready to spray clear base paint, and then it's going to be a 10 part of these two components right here to 1 part of the candy. And so to break it down even further and to make it a little bit easier, we're going to have a 5 part to 5 part to 1 part. Now, again, that seems like a lot of, parts and everything like that, but we can actually break it down very simply by 5 ounces, 5 ounces, and 1 ounce. So we're going to first start with our inner coat clear. Now again, because this is going 1:1, it doesn't matter whether you start with the inner coat clear or the reducer. You can use either one of them first because they're equal ratio. And then now we'll go ahead and add another 5 parts of the reducer. And now that we have that, now we're going to add just the 1 part of the candy into the mix ratio. So then that way we have a mixing ratio of 5 to 5 to 1. So we're going to go from the 10 to the 11 mark with the actual candy. And so now that we have that, now we're ready to go ahead and start mixing this up, shake it up really well, and now let's go ahead and get this sprayed so that way we can show you guys the end result of what everything's going to look like after it's sprayed. All right, so we've got this part already set up, and so let's talk a little bit about the technique of what all we're going to be doing and how we're going to be spraying this. So of course, you saw a little bit earlier, we have a 10:1 ratio or a 5 to 5 to 1 ratio for the actual candy that we've mixed up. So now that this is ready to spray, now we're going to go ahead and apply this all over the entire part. Now again, this is definitely going to be very dependent on the way that you spray. So you got to make sure that you're really consistent in your spray and everything. And so the couple of things to look at is that you always want to make sure that you're always the same height above the part every single time, because if you're spraying it back here in one pass and then you get closer and you spray it again in another pass, the closer you are, the more deeper of, in this case, a blue it's going to make. And so then you're going to have a lot of stripes and what we call tiger striping and things like that, that it's not going to look right. So definitely make sure that you're really critical on making sure that you have the right amount of height on the paint gun whenever you're spraying the part itself. Also too, whenever you're spraying that part, you always want to try to make sure that you're perpendicular to the part. And so you don't want to take this part right here. If I'm doing this whole entire line right here, I don't just go just like this, okay? I want to actually follow the contour of it and then maybe go across here and then maybe come back in and follow that contour all the way around. And so by helping follow that contour, you're going to keep that gun pretty much at about a perpendicular angle. And so that's going to be a 90-degree angle. And so if I'm spraying this right here, I do not want to have my paint gun sitting like this right here, because if I'm spraying it like this, we'll turn it sideways there for you. If I'm spraying it like that, I'm going to get more concentrated amounts right in here than I am over in this area. And so if I'm spraying this top piece right here, I want to be spraying straight down just like that. And so of course it goes the exact same way. If you have a smooth curved surface like that, you want to try to make sure that you keep that same perpendicular angle all the way around each of the curved pieces. Now again, this isn't a super complex part, but it is definitely a part that does have a lot of complex curves in it, or not complex, but curves that go around. Now again, they're not super hard, but they do have a nice smooth even shape to them, and so it does take a little bit of practice in trying to be able to follow those contours with that gun as you're spraying it, because the biggest thing to remember is that if you're off on one side compared to the other, then you'll have lighter and darker spots all around the part. So you definitely want to make sure that whenever you are taking and you're spraying your part, you want to make sure that you're spraying it as evenly and as smooth as possible, as well as keeping that same overlap every single time. Now, speaking of overlap, I haven't really touched on that, but normally you want to be at about a 50 to 75% overlap. With something like that right there, you want to make sure that as you have your overlap going across, you try to make sure that everything is always the same every single time. So you don't want to have a big overlap here and then a little overlap here and then a big overlap right there, because again, that's going to create tiger striping and then it's not going to look right. So candies are not hard to spray, but there are definitely some key features that you want to make sure that you look at whenever you're spraying to get the best possible outcome for the part itself. All right, so we've got everything already sprayed in the candy, and of course you can see it dramatically changed everything. Now, depending on how dark or light you want your candy will depend on how many coats that you put on it, but of course you can definitely tell the more that you put on it, the darker that it's going to get with any color that you're going to use. So of course, once we have it to this point right here, we can spray our clear coat and then of course give it to the customer, and then they're going to be very happy with the outcome. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know we always do. If you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them below. We'd love to hear from you on anything Hydrographics related, as well as let me know your thoughts on the candies. If you have different methods or different ways that you spray them as well, we'd love to hear about those as well. Also, if you haven't already, check the links in the description below. We're going to have links for all of the candies and everything that we have on our website. So if you're curious about the candies or buying any of those, you can check those out on the website as well. I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts, and this is how we customize your world. We'll see you guys next time.